Hi, Finn. I might have to change that soon, but it's been a while since I posted one of these. I have two that I need to edit, but I'm going to try to put this one out before I do that, and then kind of keep going from there and see. So today is the 17th of March, 2025, and 2 days ago on the 15th, we decided that it was time to put Molly, our dog, to sleep. And it wasn't an easy decision, especially because she wasn't sick or anything like that. It started to become more, she was just not too safe to be around, and I'll explain all of that. So the way that we got Molly is your mom, she did this thing called Prevent Child Abuse Augusta, and there was a gentleman there, and one day she was talking about our two dogs, Molly, or Lily and Sweet Pea, and he was asking about it, and he said, you know, that he asked what type of dogs they were, and she was like, they're pit bulls, and he, oh, you can't have those dogs together, they'll kill each other, they're horrible dogs. And she's like, no, they're best friends. And so that kind of started the conversation, and then he went on about, well, I have this thing in the backyard, I've been trying to open up the gate, but the stupid thing won't leave. And so he told us that, or he told your mom that, you know, it was a German, or it was a lab that they got, and they thought it was going to be a small dog. And if you know anything about dogs, a lab is not a small dog. And so this is right around Christmas 2015, and so we had Molly for about 9.5 years total. But so your mom came home talking about it, and I was like, if you want to, we'll go over there. She was worried, and I know how that goes, and I was like, if you want to, we'll go see how it goes, and if we want to pick her up, we'll just bring her home. No big deal. And so we got out over at the guy's house, and quickly saw that Molly wasn't a lab. She's some type of shepherd mix. And I mean, she was just as cute as could be. Black almost all throughout. She has a little white through here. But she was just so excited to see people. She was hopping up and down, and she peed all over the place. She was just happy to see people. And so the story that we got is that she was just too big, and what it is I think that they didn't know what they were getting into, and didn't realize that a shepherd is still considered a puppy until they're like 2 years old. And they were an older couple, and they didn't like her running around and stuff like that, so they just left her in the backyard, and their backyard wasn't that big, and it was full of like a garden type setup. And so she didn't really have that much room. And then they never went back, and they never played with her, and they never socialized her or anything like that. And like they would leave and go on trips, and she would be out there, and like the lady next door would feed her sometimes, I guess, and she didn't like that Molly would hop on her. So she would just like throw stuff over the fence and then leave. And so they were telling us that, you know, they had never taken her to the vet because they couldn't get her in the car and all this other stuff. And so I picked her up, and we put her in the car, and we brought her to the house. And for about 3 days, I really didn't sleep too much because I was staying with her, and every time I would move, she would just startle and wake up. And that's understandable because she's coming to a new place and has to decompress and all that stuff like that. And so we weren't planning on keeping Molly. We thought we would get her, and we would try to, you know, adopt her out to another family, because we already had, you know, we had the two, we had Sweet Pea and we had Lily, and then we had the two cats, Tiga and Chester. And so, like, I remember one person coming over, and Molly was just barking and going crazy, and it didn't work, and I was kind of worried. because there were a couple small kids, and she was acting like she almost wanted to, go after the kid a little bit. But we told him, like, this isn't a good fit. Thanks for coming. But and then one of the guys I knew, he had some interest, so we adopted him. Well, not really like officially adopted him, but we gave him to her, or her to him. And then I wish we never did, because they had a dog and it didn't work out, and Molly was pretty food aggressive because she was just never fed right and everything. And there was another dog, and she was really domineering over that dog, and it was an elder dog. And so she went from a backyard to like a small area in a kitchen for about a month, and she tore up a bunch of trim and stuff, which is understandable. And so he asked, and I said, if there's any ever problems, just bring her back, we'll take her back. And once we got her back, we're like, we can't do this again to her, so we just kept her. And when it was me and your mom, it was fine. Molly was never an issue. Of course, she would let you know if anybody was going by, things like that. We crate trained her, so she would go to sleep in a crate every night. We tried walking and training. The only thing that kind of happened is one day our neighbor knocked on the door, and I went to go answer the front door, and when I did, Molly tried slipping out the door, and I reached over and I grabbed her collar. And when I did, she just turned around and said, got my hand, and just got me good. I bled a little bit. But as soon as she realized what she did, she let go, and it was as fine as it could be for what happened. And so after that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to open the door. If she's there, I'll go through the garage. And so the next issue that we had, so we had her for about a year and a half or so. And my brother ended up having a kidney removed, which I'll tell that some other time. But I said over the summer that year that I could, so this is the summer of 2017, that I could take his twins and his youngest daughter, and they could come to the house. And that way, because he had 6 kids, and that way he could kind of have a little bit more time to heal and everything like that. And we were just worried about Molly then, so we got a trainer, and we did a whole bunch of work with her, and nothing happened, and it ended up being fine. But it was a whole thing. And then if someone came over, if you wanted Molly out, you had to introduce Molly a certain way. You had to meet outside. You had to have like food, treats, and everything like that outside. That person had to give them to her, but you couldn't look at her and all this other stuff. So there was all these things that you had to do to make it safe, I guess it'd be the best word. And so this all goes back to the way that she was treated as a puppy. And quite honestly, we think that she's just terrified of people. And so there's just a couple of people that she trusts, and she doesn't trust anybody else, and it's understandable. But so then, Finn, you were born, and we were so worried about everything there for a while. How's Molly going to react and everything? And for a while it was fine. As a baby, it wasn't that big of an issue. But as you started growing a little bit, it started becoming an issue, and more so over the last half year or so. But she'd be like laying on the floor, and if you fell over her or got too close, she would startle. And if she startles, she's aggressive, and it's just a reaction. And that happened, what was it, about a year or so ago, maybe a year and a half ago. You fell over her, and she bit you right here, and you have a little scar right here on your cheek from it. And I told your mom then, I was like, listen, I don't want to do this, but the best thing might be to put her to sleep. Just because the worst thing that could happen is she could attack you and seriously hurt you. And then how could we live with ourselves if that was something that we could have prevented? And we kind of talked about it a little bit, and it kind of died down. And then there was a couple of little close calls. But still, is if someone comes over, we have to get her, we have to coax her upstairs into the bedroom. There for a while, she would go in the crate, but then she wouldn't go in the crate anymore. And so you have to lock the door. And you know, it's hard for you when you're bouncing around and not thinking about paying attention to her. And if you fall over, she's sleeping, she just wakes up snapping. Well, within about the last month, of course, your brother, he was born in January, and I don't know if she's been sick, because it's even taking her to the vet has been an ordeal. So we would have to give her medicine to try to take her anxiety down, but it never worked. And then we would have to give her a shot to sedate her so that she would go to sleep, so that the vet could look at her. And so there for a little bit, the vet would let me give the shot to her because she trusted me, but then she wouldn't let me do it. So the last handful of times, so we did that one time. She needed to get a checkup, and she had this like little cyst or spot on her butt, and we wanted to get it looked at. Well, we had to, sedate her and all that stuff, and she was fighting through it so hard. And finally the vet came up and was like, listen, if I give her anything else, it is going to kill her. So if she doesn't fall asleep, we're not going to be able to do this. Because something would happen, she would hear something, it would startle her, she'd kind of flush everything. And so, the last couple times to get her to the vet, you always had to put a muzzle on her. And you would have to take her back to where the kennels were. Someone would have to grab her leash, hold her against the kennel, and then they would have to give her the shot. And so, I don't know if she was sick, I don't know if it was the new baby, and stress, and everything, but within about the last month or so, I hadn't been feeling too good, and I went to the emergency room after work, and they said I had an upper respiratory infection. And so this was a Friday night, and so later that night I was going, and your mom was sitting there on the couch, and she was with Luca, and I was like, I'm going to bed. And it was like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And Molly was there, and I thought I would say goodnight to Molly. And so her eyes looked like they were open, and she kind of had her paw out. And I said, Molly, paw. And I thought that she was going to reach her paw out to me. And when I stuck my hand out, she just bit me. Like bad bit me. Like, right? It's hard to see now, but she got me here. And then all through here. To the point that I thought that I needed stitches. I mean, it looks like when she bit, it glanced the bone and came down like that. But yeah, my finger was all tore up. And so I did some bandaging on it, and then I went up to the ER again for the second time that night. And they told me, everything looks fine, and just keep bandaging it the way that I'm bandaging it. And they asked about, if she was up to date on her shots, and I was like, she's up to date on her shots and everything. And I mean, there for a few weeks I had it all bandaged up and Neosporin and all that fun stuff, so it's healed up pretty good. But that kind of put it back into my mind that it's getting time for Molly. And so that happened. And then within about the next week, you had came downstairs in the middle of the night, you sleeping, and you bumped her and startled her, and she almost bit your foot. And I think for your mom, that was kind of the deciding factor, that it's just, it's too close. And like I said, it wasn't necessarily her fault. And so Saturday, well, we were going to do it, and your Truman Oma was in, and we had to take her back home. So we waited a week. And so Friday night, we all took her for our last walk. And then Saturday, we took her to the vet. As it was all going on, she got so riled up, she scratched her nose pretty bad, and it was bleeding. But they were finally able to give her the shot, and they brought her into the room, and we had to say goodbye. And probably the most heartbreaking thing about all of it was seeing you say goodbye. Because Molly was your police dog. And like I said, I hate that it happened. But we had to do it more for the safety of everybody than anything else. And I know it sounds bad, and she wasn't a bad dog. If it wasn't for what had happened to her, she would have been the greatest dog. If you were upset or about to get upset, she knew it. She would come over and she would try to like hit you with her nose to try to distract you, or kind of like the way a service dog would. And so I'm going to end the video. If it hasn't corrupted, I got a video of Molly, and so I'm going to put that here. And so one day we came home, and there was a banana peel on the floor. And so I asked your mom about it, and I thought that they just got the banana peel, or Molly did. And she was like, no, it was a full banana. And so we got curious, and we were like, I wonder what would happen if we just gave her a banana, because we would give her like pieces of banana in her food and everything. So that's what we did. We gave her a banana, and then she used her teeth, she picked at it, and then she peeled and ate the banana all by herself. And so as long as I still have that video, I'm going to put it at the end so that you'll have a good, funny memory of it. So I just want to say, you know, I hate that it happened, but we almost had to do it at this particular time. And it doesn't make it easier, because you feel bad about it regardless. And so, Finn, I just want to say I love you, and I'll try to put that video here. And I guess I should say bye, Molly. You were a good dog to us for 9.5 years.